Chosen one. The stillness around you right now is not emptiness, it is heaven holding its breath. You have stepped into the sacred pause between what was and what will be. Everything in your life that once made noise, voices of doubt, distractions, misunderstandings has been silenced not by coincidence but by divine design. God Himself has pressed pause, not to punish you but to position you. Listen, when God moves, your role is not to shout, not to explain, not to justify. Your role is to stay silent and still. This moment feels strange because the world trains you to react, to prove, to defend yourself. Yet heaven is teaching you something higher. You have been chosen to master the discipline of holy silence, the kind that does not mean defeat but preparation. You may not see it, but the ground beneath your feet is shifting. The wind that once opposed you is beginning to change direction. Every unanswered question, every moment that felt like delay, was heaven's way of saying, "Stand still, child, and watch me move." Do you feel the weight of waiting? The heaviness that comes when nothing seems to happen? That is where faith is forged. God hides His greatest movements beneath the veil of quiet. In silence, you are learning to see without sight, to trust without evidence, to rest when your heart wants to run. There is divine strategy in your stillness. You are not losing momentum, you are gathering it. You are not being ignored, you are being refined. You are not forgotten, you are being prepared for the kind of glory that cannot be rushed. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord fights for you, you need only to be still, trust His strength, stand in peace. These ancient words are not a metaphor for comfort, they are a command for warriors. God is not asking for your noise, He is asking for your trust. When heaven fights for you, silence becomes your weapon. It confuses the enemy because he feeds on reaction. When you stop explaining yourself, you remove his access to your peace. When you stop proving your worth, you close every door he tries to enter through insecurity. Silence is not weakness, it is authority dressed in patience. There are people who won't understand your stillness. They will mistake your peace for passivity, your silence for surrender. Let them. You do not owe anyone an explanation when God is rewriting your story in private. Some of the most powerful transformations happen away from applause. You are not called to prove the move of God, you are called to live it. When you walk in obedience, heaven speaks louder than any argument. Every time you choose silence over retaliation, heaven records it as worship. Every time you choose peace over panic, heaven calls it faith. So hear this clearly, the silence surrounding you is not the absence of God, it is the announcement of His movement. There is a rhythm to His workings that only the still can hear. If you can resist the urge to move prematurely, to speak before the miracle matures, you will see Him reveal Himself in ways that will leave even your critics speechless. Do not break the silence with fear. Let God finish what He started. The same God who opened the sea for Moses is about to open a way for you. Right now, pause for a moment. Feel the stillness in your spirit. That peace you sense that's not emptiness. That's evidence. Evidence that heaven has not forgotten you. Evidence that the angels assigned to your destiny are standing in formation. Evidence that the author of your life has turned the page, and the ink of the next chapter has begun to dry. You may not see the miracle yet, but it's already in motion. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean nothing's happening. The silence you feel is God working in stealth, arranging divine appointments, dismantling hidden plots, and aligning the right people to meet you at the right moment. Chosen one. This is your moment to trust more deeply than you ever have. You are standing on holy ground. What you decide in this stillness determines what unfolds in your next season. Do not rush. Do not speak prematurely. Stand in reverent silence and let heaven complete what it began. If you can hold your peace, God will release your victory. You will soon look back and realize that every silent moment was a seed of power planted in faith. If this message resonates in your spirit, take a step of faith right now. Like this message, share it so others can find their peace in silence. And subscribe to stay connected to the flow of divine revelation that heaven is releasing. In the comments, write this prophetic number 777 as a sign that you choose to trust God's timing, even in the stillness. Chosen one. There are moments when heaven moves in ways that the earth cannot immediately perceive. This is one of those moments. You have entered a realm of divine secrecy, where God's strategy unfolds beyond human sight. The silence that surrounds you is not stagnation, it is camouflage. God is moving, but not loudly. He is orchestrating outcomes that can only be accomplished when your voice is still and your faith is active. What looks like nothing is everything. You are walking through a holy mystery. Heaven's strategies often appear backwards to human reasoning. The world says, speak up, act fast, take control. But the Spirit whispers, wait, watch, and trust. In divine timing, silence is not delay, it is precision. Every thread of your story is being woven by unseen hands. God is not in a hurry because His plans are eternal. What He builds in silence cannot be shaken by noise. You are learning the art of cooperation with heaven, doing less in the natural so He can do more in the supernatural. You may wonder why He doesn't reveal everything at once. The truth is, divine revelation comes by stages, just enough to keep you walking by faith, not by sight. If you knew all that God was preparing, you might try to manage it on your own. So He hides pieces of the puzzle to protect you from premature exposure. Every unanswered question is a safeguard. Every closed door is divine redirection. Even the confusion you feel is often a sign that heaven is protecting you from clarity that you are not yet ready to carry. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 7. We walk by faith, not by sight, trusting God, wholly following His lead, living by belief. These words are more than theology. They are instruction for survival. Faith is not blind optimism. It is divine alignment. It is walking forward when you can't see the road, trusting that God is guiding your steps with invisible precision. To walk by faith is to admit, I don't understand, but I trust. It is to move when He says move and to stand still when He says wait. It is to let your silence become your declaration of trust. Heaven's secret strategy often includes moments where nothing seems to make sense. You might feel hidden, forgotten, or overlooked, but those are the very symptoms of divine positioning. When God is ready to reveal His next move, He often pulls His chosen ones out of the crowd. He isolates to elevate. He conceals before He reveals. You are being repositioned, not rejected. The quiet around you is not punishment, it's preparation. God is setting the stage for something that cannot be accomplished in public view. Consider the lives of those who came before you. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he ever saw the burning bush. David was anointed king but sent back to tend sheep in obscurity. Joseph dreamed of greatness, yet found himself in a prison cell before the promise was fulfilled. Every chosen one faces a season of divine silence, where the only thing to hold on to is faith. These seasons are not detours. They are the exact roads that lead to destiny. What feels like hiding is heaven's way of keeping you holy until the appointed time. The spiritual world moves differently than the physical. Heaven's agenda is not rushed by human calendars. When you are walking by faith, you become synchronized with eternity. There is no such thing as late when God is the one directing your path. The moment you learn to rest in that truth, peace begins to flood your spirit. You stop demanding answers and start discerning movement. You begin to sense that even in stillness, there are divine footsteps echoing around you. Subtle shifts in the unseen, indicators that something supernatural is taking shape. Do not despise the silence, chosen one. It is the language of heaven. God speaks not only through thunder and miracles, but through pauses and quiet stirrings. He is teaching you to recognize His voice beyond the noise of the world. The more you quiet your mind, the clearer His guidance becomes. This is why the enemy tries so hard to distract you, because if you ever learn to sit in silence and truly listen, you will hear instructions that can change nations. There will be days when you feel like nothing is happening. But trust me, heaven never sleeps. God is writing in invisible ink, and soon the heat of His timing will make every hidden word visible. When the moment comes, it will all make sense. Every delay will appear as divine choreography. Every waiting period will reveal itself as mercy in disguise. For now, your task is simple: remain faithful in the unseen. Keep your heart open and your mouth closed. Let faith be your posture and patience your prayer. Chosen one, this is where the silence begins to weigh on your soul. It is no longer peaceful, it feels heavy, almost suffocating. You look around and nothing is moving. Heaven seems quiet, people seem distant, and even your prayers echo back without sound. You begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? But listen closely. This is not punishment. This is purification. You are standing on sacred ground, and heaven is teaching you one of the hardest spiritual lessons: how to carry the weight of silence without breaking under it. When God begins to refine a chosen one, He often takes away what feels familiar. The conversations you used to rely on fade. The affirmation you once sought dries up. Even the clarity you once had seems hidden behind a fog. But do not mistake God's silence for His absence. Silence is His language of maturity. It is how He strengthens your discernment, deepens your faith, and trains your spirit to recognize His whisper even when everything else goes quiet. You see, there is a holy difference between being silent and being silenced. Being silenced is when the world tries to shut you down. Being silent is when you choose to trust God more than your own explanation. Every time you resist the urge to defend yourself, you are saying, God, you can speak for me. Every time you stop yourself from reacting, heaven notes your obedience as worship. You are learning restraint, not weakness; discipline, not defeat. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 141 on verse 3. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. David understood that the mouth is a gate of power. What you release from it can either build or break your destiny. That's why this season demands silence. It's a fast of the tongue, a consecration of speech. God is guarding your words because your next declaration will carry creative power. The weight of silence purifies motives. It exposes impatience, insecurity, and hidden pride. It brings to the surface every desire for validation and forces you to surrender it. In this furnace of stillness, your dependence on human approval is burned away. That's why it hurts, because something inside you is being refined. Remember, this silence is not passive, it is active obedience. When you choose to hold your peace, heaven is not idle. Every moment you stay quiet when you could have spoken. Angels move faster. Every second you refrain from fighting your own battle, God sharpens His sword on your behalf. You are being trained for spiritual royalty. Kings and queens do not react, they discern. You are learning to rule your emotions instead of being ruled by them. It may feel lonely, but loneliness is the classroom of revelation. It is where God speaks to those who will not share his secrets carelessly. In the hush of this moment, heaven is engraving instructions into your heart, blueprints for your next assignment, guidance for the doors you will walk through, warnings for the traps ahead. That is why you must guard your stillness. It's where you receive divine intelligence. Chosen one, hear this truth: you are not being ignored, you are being entrusted. God trusts you enough to sit in silence without losing faith. He knows that your heart can handle the stillness because he designed it to. Others might crumble in quietness, but you, his chosen one, stand firm, anchored in unseen strength. Every breath you take in this silence is a declaration that says, I trust you, God, even when you say nothing. When the world pushes you to speak, remember this moment. Remember that silence can roar louder than any defense. You are not required to explain divine strategy to earthly minds. You are only required to obey. One day soon, the same mouths that questioned your quiet will witness your breakthrough and understand why you never spoke. God himself will vindicate you until you will not need to prove your faith. He will display it through your victory. Now, take a breath and let these words settle deep in your spirit. You are not weak for staying silent. You are wise. You are not passive. You are positioned. Your silence is building something eternal, something that noise could never create. So stay still. Keep your heart steady. Heaven is speaking through the quiet. If this resonates in your spirit, write this simple declaration below: I trust God. Say it not as empty words, but as a prophetic act. Every time you type it, you align your heart with heaven's rhythm. It's your way of saying, even in silence, I still believe. Chosen one, silence is not the absence of warfare, it is often the evidence of it. When the surface seems calm, the spiritual realm is roaring. Heaven's armies do not always march with thunderous sound. Sometimes they move with the quiet precision of divine strategy. While you sit still and feel forgotten, God's angels are battling in realms you cannot see. Every tear you've cried, every sigh you've released has been collected as proof of your endurance. You may not see the fight, but heaven has gone to war for your destiny. You have reached a sacred tension between stillness and warfare. It feels strange because your flesh wants to move, but your spirit is commanded to rest. You can sense that something is happening beyond your understanding, and you are right. While you appear to be waiting, heaven is shifting entire structures around you, pulling down strongholds, dismantling traps, and silencing demonic voices that tried to twist your path. The quiet is not emptiness, it is divine protection in operation. Do not confuse silence with inactivity. When you hold your peace, God releases his power. The absence of noise is often the sound of a finished victory being written in heaven's record. You are not waiting for God to start moving, he is already moving, and your silence allows him to finish. This is why obedience is so critical. Your stillness becomes spiritual permission for heaven to execute its plans. Every time you choose patience over panic, angels advance another step. For the battle you face is not fought with earthly weapons. It is not decided by debates, arguments, or appearances. It is waged in the invisible, where faith is the sword and trust is the shield. The moments when you feel weakest are often the times heaven is winning strongest. The reason the enemy fights your peace so violently is that he knows peace is proof of victory. If he can shake your calm, he can delay your blessing. But if you can remain still, you win before the battle ends. The Spirit spoke through the psalmist in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. If only you could glimpse what heaven is doing, your heart would never doubt again. The unseen realm is not far away, it's closer than the air you breathe. Every act of obedience, every whisper of worship, stirs the spiritual atmosphere. When you speak words of faith, angels take them as assignments. When you hold your tongue instead of reacting, heaven interprets it as an act of trust. Nothing you do in faith is wasted. Every moment of restraint is recorded as spiritual strength. You may feel invisible to people, but you are vividly visible in heaven. God watches your endurance like a general observing a trusted soldier. He knows when your heart trembles but still chooses obedience. He knows when you want to quit but stay faithful anyway. That quiet perseverance is not overlooked. It is celebrated in heaven's council. Angels applaud not the loud, but the loyal. The ones who trust through silence become the ones who carry divine authority in the next season. Sometimes the battle intensifies right before the breakthrough. The quiet grows deeper, the waiting heavier. That is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the enemy has realized he is losing. His last tactic is to create illusion to make you think God is withdrawn. But remember, this silence is not the absence of God's movement. It is the stealth of his strategy. Like a master warrior, he does not announce every swing of his sword. He moves quietly, swiftly, decisively. And soon, what was fought for in secret will manifest in public. Chosen one, hold your position. Heaven is still fighting for you, even when you cannot feel it. The stillness around you is not the pause of defeat. It is the calm of confidence. The outcome has already been written. God is not improvising. He is executing what was declared before time began. Every moment of silence draws you closer to fulfillment. The unseen war is nearing completion, and you will soon step into a peace that will not be shaken again. Remember this truth: your silence is not wasted. It's a weapon. When you keep quiet under pressure, you strip the enemy of his favorite tool, your reaction. Your refusal to panic is his greatest defeat. Your stillness is heaven's strategy written into human obedience. So stay grounded in faith. The angels are still moving. The hand of God is still working. You are being guarded, guided, and grown all at once. The unseen battles are real, but so is the victory that follows them. One day soon, the silence will break not with your words, "Come on," but with heaven's shout. Until then, rest in the knowledge that divine protection surrounds you. Every second of this stillness is part of heaven's plan to bring you into something greater than you've ever imagined. Chosen one. Obedience can be a lonely road. There are seasons when doing what God asks of you feels like walking through a desert where even the echo of your own footsteps sounds distant. When obedience costs you relationships, comfort, and understanding, your heart begins to ache. You start to ask, why must following God feel so isolating? But what you are experiencing is not rejection, it is refinement. You are being separated so that heaven can amplify your purpose without the noise of earthly opinions. Think of gold in the fire. Before it shines, it must be separated from the dross. The flames are not punishment, they are purification. In the same way, your solitude is not a sentence, it is sanctification. God isolates before he elevates. He removes the voices that would distract you so that you can recognize his whisper. Every no you've received from people was a yes from heaven protecting your destiny. You have not been left behind, you've been set apart. The apostle's words in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17. Still carry power today. Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Chosen one, when obedience leads to isolation. Remember that you are never truly alone. Even in your desert, there is divine presence. Think of Elijah under the broom tree, thinking he was the last prophet left. Heaven reminded him that the remnant was still alive and that he was not forgotten. The same is true for you. There are others walking similar paths, chosen ones scattered like stars across the dark sky of this world. You might not see them yet, but you are part of a constellation of purpose, each light shining from its own sacred place. The pain you feel is proof of transformation. Caterpillars must cocoon alone before wings emerge. Seeds must be buried before life sprouts. And stars, yes, even stars must burn in silence before they illuminate the heavens. So when obedience feels like isolation, know that something beautiful is forming. The stillness around you is the womb of new beginnings. In this quiet stage, God is rewiring how you see yourself. You no longer measure your worth by applause, affirmation, or visibility. Instead, you begin to find joy in secret victories, the kind no one claps for but heaven celebrates. You start to realize that divine promotion often comes disguised as human rejection. The people who walked away did not derail your destiny. They cleared your runway. Chosen one, let your obedience be your offering. Every time you choose faithfulness over comfort, heaven records it as worship. You are building altars with your actions, not just your words. And when the time is right, God will bring those who are meant to walk beside you, not to replace him, but to reflect him. Until then, cherish this solitude. It is the soil in which your roots of wisdom are growing. And while you walk this narrow path, remember every story like yours needs a voice that carries it forward. When you share this message, you are not just spreading words, you are planting seeds. Somewhere out there, another soul sits in their own silence, thinking they are forgotten. Your simple act of sharing could be the spark that reminds them they're not alone. If these words have reached your heart, take a gentle step like this message. Share it with someone who needs light in their wilderness. And subscribe so that the flow of heaven's encouragement continues to meet you in your own quiet seasons. And if your heart feels moved to do more to keep this light burning brighter, consider supporting this mission. Even the smallest act of giving becomes like oil in the lamp, keeping the flame alive for someone else's night. Your contribution, whether through sharing, praying, or donating, becomes part of heaven's whisper saying, "You are not forgotten. Chosen one, your obedience is never wasted. It's the melody that heaven hears even when the world goes silent." Keep walking in faith, keep trusting in the unseen. And when the road feels narrow and lonely, remember narrow roads lead to wide horizons. Every step you take in obedience today becomes the foundation for miracles tomorrow. Chosen one, you have been waiting for what feels like forever. You've prayed, fasted, believed, and yet heaven seems to move in slow motion. You look at your life and wonder, why does everything take so long? But listen carefully. Delay is not denial. You are standing in the sacred space called divine timing, and what seems like delay is actually preparation. God has not forgotten you. He is aligning the details so perfectly that when the appointed moment arrives, nothing will be missing and nothing will be out of place. There is a rhythm to heaven's timing that cannot be rushed. Just as the moon follows its orbit and the tides obey invisible commands, your destiny unfolds according to divine order. What you call waiting is God's way of saying, "I'm perfecting what concerns you." You see, chosen one, heaven is not measuring your waiting by minutes, it measures it by maturity. The moment you are ready internally, the external doors will swing open. God will not release what could destroy you if given too soon. The prophet's words echo in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. These ancient words still breathe life into weary hearts. Though it linger, Those 3 words acknowledge the ache of waiting. God is not blind to your frustration. He understands the heaviness of patience. But then comes the promise it will certainly come. The certainty of divine timing outweighs the uncertainty of human understanding. What is meant for you cannot be taken from you, delayed beyond its purpose, or lost to another. Chosen one, every delay carries divine intent. Sometimes God withholds not to punish but to protect. He will not let you step into rooms that are not yet ready for your presence. He will not allow you to join hands with those who cannot hold the weight of your calling. What you interpret as delay is often heaven clearing the path. Behind the scenes, God is rearranging hearts, adjusting circumstances, softening resistance, and opening invisible gates. You are being prepared for something so tailored, so specific, that it must arrive at the exact second it was written to. Think of a seed. It does not grow because the gardener shouts, it grows because it's buried. In darkness, in stillness, beneath the surface where eyes cannot see. That is your current season. You are germinating beneath the soil of patience, absorbing the unseen light of faith. The very pressure that feels like delay is what's breaking open your potential. And when the appointed time comes, what sprouted in silence will blossom in power. Patience is not weakness, it is proof of faith. Anyone can believe when answers are immediate, but true faith believes through silence, through waiting, through years that feel endless. You are learning to live by trust, not timelines. And trust is the key that unlocks divine acceleration. The moment you surrender your timeline to heaven, you invite heaven to move beyond time itself. Chosen one, there is a beauty in divine delay that few ever recognize. In the waiting, your roots deepen. In the waiting, your discernment sharpens. In the waiting, you learn the rhythm of heaven's breath. If blessings came the moment you asked, you would never develop the endurance needed to sustain them. What you are learning now in waiting will become the strength you need when the promise finally arrives. You may not realize it, but you are being equipped right now for blessings you once prayed for. The patience you are forced to practice is molding your character into one that can handle divine abundance. This is not wasted time, it is investment time. The longer the delay, the greater the impact when it breaks. And here's a truth you must hold close. God never arrives early because he is never late. His movements are written in eternal precision. When your door opens, it will be right on time, not according to your watch, but according to your destiny. So, while you wait, do not lose your fire. Do not stop praying. Do not assume silence means absence. Instead, lift your eyes and whisper, I still believe. For heaven hears every whisper, even the ones wrapped in tears. You are not forgotten. The clock of eternity still ticks in your favor. Now, chosen one, seal this moment with a small act of faith. In the comments, write the prophetic number 404. It is a declaration that you trust divine order, even when the waiting hurts. Let that number stand as your silent testimony that you believe God's timing is perfect, that even when it lingers, it will surely come. And when it does, it will come suddenly, beautifully, completely. Hold your peace. Stay patient. What heaven is building in silence will be revealed in glory. Your waiting is not wasted, it's sacred. Chosen one. Words are not just sounds, they are seeds. Every syllable that leaves your mouth has the power to create or destroy, to open heaven or invite chaos. This is why your current season is wrapped in silence. Heaven is training you to understand the weight of your own voice. You have been given authority, but authority without discipline becomes danger. Before God can trust you to speak miracles, he must first teach you when to say nothing at all. There are battles that are not lost through weakness but through words. A careless confession can cancel a promise. An emotional outburst can delay a breakthrough. You must learn that your tongue is not simply a tool for expression. It is a weapon forged by the Spirit. When God says, "Guard your mouth," He is not trying to restrict you. He is trying to protect the destiny attached to your sound. Every promise God made to you is voice-activated. When He spoke creation into existence, He didn't whisper fear, He declared power. Yet, there is a time for speaking and a time for silence. The silence you endure now is heaven's classroom. You are being taught restraint, precision, and divine timing. There will come a moment when God says, "Speak," and the atmosphere will bend at your command. But until then, your quietness is a preparation for authority. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. These words are not poetic, they are prophetic law. Every word you utter carries energy that either builds God's order or feeds the enemy's chaos. This is why silence feels so heavy in this season. Heaven is retraining your speech pattern. You cannot carry the vocabulary of the past into the destiny of the future. You cannot speak doubt and expect divine acceleration. You cannot complain and still expect clarity. Every word must now align with heaven's rhythm. Chosen one, guard your mouth the way a king guards his crown. The mouth is the gate through which both blessings and curses flow. You may have noticed that certain conversations no longer bring you peace. That is divine awareness awakening inside you. The Spirit is teaching you that not every question deserves an answer. Not every provocation deserves a response. And not every voice deserves your attention. The one who masters silence becomes unshakable. Because they no longer react, they discern. This is why many of your recent conversations have felt strange. You start to speak, but something in your spirit stops you. That hesitation is not weakness, it's wisdom. The Holy Spirit is intercepting your words before they leave your lips, protecting you from spiritual entanglements that could drain your strength. Heaven knows that one wrong word can open a gate of confusion. So God covers your tongue until your heart and His will move in harmony. There is divine restraint at work in your life. Heaven is placing you under spiritual discipline because your next season will require precise speech. You are being trained for moments when your words will carry creative weight. You will speak healing and see it manifest. You will declare peace and watch chaos dissolve. You will prophesy breakthrough and watch doors swing open up, but all of that begins here in this quiet mastery of the tongue. Think of Jesus before Pilate. He could have spoken one word and changed everything, but He chose silence. That silence was not surrender, it was strategy. Heaven's victory often hides behind the restraint of the righteous. Your silence, too, is speaking louder than words. It tells the spiritual realm that you trust God's justice more than human defense. Every time you remain still when falsely accused or misunderstood, heaven applauds your maturity. You are learning to let God defend His own investment you. This discipline also protects your peace. Words are energy, and energy once released cannot be retrieved. When you waste it on conflict or gossip, you weaken your spirit. When you store it in silence and release it only through prayer, you strengthen your authority. You are being trained to conserve power for when it truly matters. The coming days will require discernment, and only those who know how to guard their words will walk in wisdom. So, chosen one, use silence as your shield and speech as your sword. Learn to wait until heaven breathes upon your words before you speak them. You will know the difference because anointed words carry peace, not pressure. They build, not boast. They release heaven. not havoc. Every day you restrain your tongue. You are growing in spiritual rank. Every moment you choose silence over reaction. You move closer to divine maturity. Soon, when you open your mouth, your words will no longer be yours, they will be heaven's thunder wrapped in grace. That is why God guards you so carefully now. You are being trusted with sound that will shake realms. Chosen one. Have you noticed the subtle stirring in the air around you? The stillness that once felt suffocating has begun to hum with unseen movement. Something is shifting quietly, invisibly, yet unmistakably. Heaven's hand is at work again, and though you cannot yet see it, you can feel it. The air feels heavier with promise, the nights quieter but charged with presence. You may not have the full picture, but your spirit knows God is moving beneath the silence. You are standing in the early tremors of divine activity. The silence is beginning to echo not with emptiness, but with anticipation. Heaven often moves like this, softly at first, testing your sensitivity before unveiling its power. You begin to notice confirmations in unexpected places, a phrase in a conversation, a scripture that keeps appearing, a sudden peace in moments that once brought anxiety. These are not coincidences. They are the gentle footsteps of a God who moves quietly but never aimlessly. Chosen one. Spiritual movement does not always announce itself with thunder. Sometimes it comes like a faint breeze passing through your spirit, like the whisper that reached Elijah on the mountain after the storm had ceased. The mighty wind shattered rocks, the fire roared, yet the Lord was not in them. Then came the whisper, a sound that could only be heard by one who had learned the discipline of stillness. That is where you are now, hearing what others miss because you stayed silent long enough to listen. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. Those words are not a suggestion, they are an instruction. Be still is a command that births revelation. When you stop striving, you start perceiving. When you stop pushing for answers, the truth begins to unfold naturally. To know that He is God means to experience His presence beyond information, to feel Him moving when there are no visible signs. This is how heaven trains the chosen, through stillness that awakens spiritual sensitivity. Right now, the silence around you is vibrating with divine activity. God is aligning hearts, conversations, and opportunities that you don't yet know exist. Like the tides responding to the pull of the moon, everything connected to your destiny is being drawn into alignment. You cannot rush it, and you do not need to. The orchestration is too precise to be hurried. What seems delayed is only being tuned for perfect harmony. You may feel a strange mixture of peace and pressure, peace because you trust God, pressure because your spirit senses what's coming. That tension is holy. It's the vibration of heaven announcing that your waiting is nearing completion. Every moment you stayed silent, every time you chose patience, every tear you sowed in hidden faith, all of it has created spiritual momentum. It's not wasted waiting, it's stored energy, ready to burst forth in appointed time. Think of a bow being drawn back. The longer it's pulled, the greater the distance the arrow travels. The tension doesn't signal failure, it's potential. You are that arrow, being drawn by the hands of the Almighty. The silence you've endured was the pull, and the pressure you feel now is the stretch before release. You are about to move further and faster than you thought possible, not by striving, but by surrendering. But remember this: when movement begins, the temptation to speak too soon returns. You will feel the urge to announce, to explain, to declare prematurely what God is still completing in private. Resist that urge. The enemy listens for noise, but he cannot read silence. Your stillness keeps him blind to what heaven is building. God often begins breakthroughs in secret so they cannot be sabotaged before maturity. So, remain quiet, even when you sense movement. The fruit will testify for you soon enough. Chosen one, you are walking through the in-between, the place where heaven is active, though the earth appears unchanged. This is where faith matures into sight. Trust the process. For God's timing is never experimental. Every detail of your journey is intentional. What you feel stirring now is confirmation that you are aligned. The wind has shifted. The same silence that once tested you is now carrying you forward. If you could see what's happening in the unseen, you would understand why you had to wait so long. The pieces are finally locking into place. People you haven't met yet are being prepared to play their roles in your story. Doors that were sealed are being unlocked quietly in the background. You are standing on the threshold of divine manifestation. Chosen one. Sometimes the silence doesn't just test your patience, it exposes the hearts of those around you. When you stop defending yourself, the truth about others begins to rise to the surface. You begin to see who celebrates you only when you shine and who remains when you're hidden. This is one of the hardest lessons for the chosen, the realization that not everyone can walk with you into your promise. Some were only meant for the journey through the desert, not the crossing into destiny. The moment you went quiet, their whispers grew louder. They began to question your purpose, to wonder if you had lost your way. Some even waited for your failure, mistaking your silence for defeat. But what they didn't know is that God was hiding you in plain sight, preparing to reveal you at the appointed time. Your stillness has never been weakness, it has been divine camouflage. While they assumed nothing was happening, heaven was rewriting your story. Chosen one. The world doesn't understand heaven's timing. People expect progress to be noisy, to see proof before they believe. But God works in reverse. He allows you to look still so he can move deeply. He blinds the eyes of those who watch in doubt so that when your breakthrough finally arrives, no one can claim credit but him. You were never meant to prove yourself. You were meant to let the fruit of your faith speak. The psalmist once wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5, "He prepares a table set before me in my enemy's very presence, still showing his favor." Notice the placement in the presence of your enemies. That means they will still be watching when God promotes you. The same people who questioned your silence will have front row seats to your vindication. You won't need to speak. The banquet of blessing will speak for you. The table is being set even now quietly while your critics talk. The feast is being arranged not to humiliate them but to reveal that obedience always wins. So when they mock you for being silent, keep your head high. When they misjudge your pause, smile in peace. God is not ignoring the words spoken against you. He's collecting them as material for your testimony. Every false accusation becomes proof of your endurance. Every betrayal becomes background music for your breakthrough. Nothing has been wasted, not even the pain. It's hard to watch others rise while you remain still. It's painful to see those who doubted you gain attention while your faith remains hidden. But remember, temporary visibility is not victory. Some run ahead before their foundation is laid. Their success will collapse under the weight of impatience. You, however, are being built slowly, deeply, eternally. When God lifts you, it won't be for a season, it will be for a lifetime. Chosen one. The silence has been your shelter. While others have been exposed to the storms of pride and performance, you have been covered. Heaven has been perfecting you in private so you can stand in public without falling. Every unseen tear, every quiet night, Every prayer whispered into the dark, it has all been heard. You are not behind. You are simply hidden until the right time, and that time is closer than you think. You may already feel the stirrings of change. The weight on your chest has begun to lighten. The same silence that once felt endless now carries a quiet rhythm of hope. That's how divine reversals begin, not with fireworks, but with the soft sound of heaven's footsteps approaching. When your unveiling comes, don't look back with bitterness. Let mercy be your answer. Those who mocked you may need your grace one day. Your story will become their hope. You were tested not to prove your strength, but to shape your heart into one that reflects God's patience. You were chosen not just to succeed, but to forgive. And when the world sees your victory, remember who fought for it in silence. The God who defended you when you said nothing will continue to speak for you when you rise. The best revenge is not proving your worth, it's walking in peace while heaven handles the noise. Chosen one, this is your call to stay grounded even when vindication arrives. Do not gloat, do not seek applause. Simply rest in the knowledge that you are seen, loved, honored, and protected. The same silence that tested you will now testify for you. If this word settles deep in your spirit, write these 3 words in the comments: I am ready. Let it be your quiet declaration that you are prepared for God's vindication, but also for His humility to rest upon you. You are ready not just for the table, but for the grace to sit at it with peace. Let heaven see your readiness, and watch how quickly the unseen becomes seen. Chosen one, there is a divine clock that does not tick by seconds but by surrender. You are learning to live according to that rhythm, the rhythm of divine timing. Every moment of waiting, every silent season, every tear shed in prayer has been part of a sacred countdown. Nothing in your life has been random. The pauses, the detours, the disappointments, all of them have been carefully synchronized by the hand of heaven. You see, divine timing is not about delay, it's about design. God's movements are never rushed because He is not limited by time. He does not panic when you do not see progress. Instead, He perfects every detail behind the scenes until the moment is ready to carry the weight of glory. The world measures progress by speed, but heaven measures it by depth. While others chase momentum, you are being rooted. And soon, your roots will sustain the fruit that is coming. It is written in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 11. He makes all things beautiful in time, perfect in season, crafted with purpose, set in His order. That verse is not just a poetic comfort, it is a divine principle. The word everything includes even the things you wish had never happened. God redeems all seasons, the laughter and the loss, the joy and the confusion. Every part of your journey will find its beauty when the timing of heaven reveals it. The scars you carry will someday shine like gemstones in the crown of your testimony. Chosen one. Timing is not just about events, it's about becoming. Before God delivers the promise to your hands, He prepares your hands for the promise. If He had given you everything when you asked for it, it might have broken you. But He is a wise Father. He withholds until your spirit can hold. He delays until your heart is trained to steward what He's about to release. What you perceive as slowness is simply God's kindness in disguise. There's an old saying, the fruit that ripens too soon falls before harvest. You, beloved, are being ripened slowly under heaven's careful watch. The light touches you in perfect measure. The rains of experience fall exactly when they should. You are not being overlooked. You are being developed. Every delay is shaping flavor, depth, and strength into your soul. When you finally step into your season, you will not just taste of blessing, you will embody it. Sometimes, when the waiting grows long, you wonder if God has forgotten your name. But look around, the stars still hang in place, the oceans still obey their boundaries, and the sun still rises right on schedule. Creation itself runs on divine timing. If God is so precise with galaxies, how much more will He be with your destiny? The one who orchestrates planets has not misplaced your promise. He is simply arranging the perfect constellation of circumstances to showcase your miracle. Chosen one, let peace return to your heart. You are not behind schedule, you are on heaven's timeline. The same God who appointed the seasons of the earth has appointed the seasons of your life. Winter does not mean death, it means preparation. Spring does not rush, it unfolds. Summer brings abundance, and autumn teaches release. You are cycling through divine purpose, and every phase is sacred. Now, while you wait and trust, allow your faith to overflow into action. Like a candle that keeps burning in the dark, your small acts of light can reach places your voice cannot. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are not just supporting a message, you are helping build a bridge for others wandering in their own silence. Your single spark could be the torch that reignites someone else's faith. And if you feel led to go deeper, to give, to plant a seed, know that generosity is never forgotten by heaven. Every donation, every prayer, every act of support becomes part of the divine ripple. You may not see it, but heaven multiplies what you release in faith. Like a drop that falls into still water, your giving creates waves that travel farther than your eyes can follow. When you give from the heart, you are not funding words, you are fueling transformation. Chosen one. Remember, timing and trust walk hand in hand. When you surrender your timeline, you enter the peace of divine rhythm. Life stops feeling like a race and begins to flow like a river, steady, purposeful, unstoppable. Every obstacle becomes a bend in that river, not a blockage. The current knows where it's going, even if you don't. So breathe, beloved, you are right on time. Every silent second has been sacred. Every delay has been divine. When the clock of heaven strikes, your life will move swiftly into alignment. And when it happens, it won't just bless you, it will heal others through you. Chosen one. Have you noticed how the pressure has intensified? It feels like the closer you get to peace, the louder the distractions become. Just when your heart begins to settle, something rises to test it, a sudden conflict, an unexpected temptation, an echo from your past. Do not be alarmed. This is the rhythm of spiritual warfare near breakthrough. The enemy always amplifies noise right before heaven releases power. When light begins to dawn, darkness makes its last desperate move to pull you back into confusion. This is not coincidence, it is confirmation. The chaos around you is evidence that you are on the verge of something divine. The very opposition that tries to wear you down is proof that heaven's movement is close. But this is where discernment becomes your shield. You must now recognize what is sent by God and what is designed as distraction. Every message, every thought, every opportunity that suddenly appears must be weighed in the spirit. Not everything that glitters is divine favor. Some things shine only to blind you. Be cautious of the voices that reappear from your past, especially the ones that once tempted you to compromise. They may sound familiar, comforting even, but their purpose is to reopen old wounds and reignite forgotten fears. The enemy knows that if he cannot defeat your faith, he will try to dilute it. He will send conversations that drain your strength, opportunities that demand your peace, and emotions that cloud your clarity. You are no longer fighting visible battles, you are confronting invisible manipulation. The Apostle Peter warned us with clarity in his first letter. Chapter 5. Verse 8. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. This is not a warning to live in fear, it is a call to live in awareness. To be sober-minded means to stay spiritually grounded, not swayed by emotion or appearance. The roaring lion rarely attacks physically, it attacks through sound. It roars to distract, to create panic, to make you doubt that safety is near. But you, chosen one, have learned to remain calm in the noise. You no longer chase every roar. You wait for heaven's whisper. This is the mark of maturity, as in earlier seasons you might have rushed to respond to every challenge, trying to defend yourself or fix everything at once. Now, wisdom has taught you that silence can be stronger than shouting. You have discovered that sometimes the best answer is no answer, and the greatest strength is quiet endurance. Each distraction you resist becomes a declaration of your authority. Every temptation you overcome proves that you are no longer moved by shadows. Chosen one. Understand this: the closer you get to your next level, the more strategic the enemy becomes. He no longer attacks what you no longer care about. He targets what still tugs at your heart. He will disguise old wounds as new opportunities, old habits as harmless comfort. His goal is simple: to make you speak or move prematurely. But remember what God taught you: silence is protection. Do not reveal what heaven is still building. The enemy cannot sabotage what he cannot hear. You are learning that true warfare is not always loud, it's disciplined. It's not about shouting in prayer, it's about standing firm in peace. When you refuse to react, you disarm the enemy. He cannot fight what will not fight back. Your composure is your shield, your patience your weapon. Every time you choose peace over panic, you step deeper into spiritual authority. You are no longer a soldier reacting to commands, you are a general discerning the field. This season is a test of endurance, not energy. The enemy will try to exhaust you, to make you feel weary from waiting, but do not mistake fatigue for failure. Fatigue means you are advancing. It means the resistance is real because your movement is real. Rest when you must, but do not retreat. You are winning in ways you cannot yet see. There is also a divine paradox at play. The very pressure you feel now is the evidence of power being birthed, just as a storm announces a shift in the atmosphere. Your current tension is signaling the approach of breakthrough. The winds that buffet you are not meant to destroy, they are meant to carry you higher. You are learning to ride the wind, not resist it. Every gust of challenge is an invitation to rise above what once controlled you. Chosen one, take courage. You are not under attack, you are under refinement. The heat you feel is not meant to burn you, but to purify you. This pressure is proof that you are dangerous to darkness. If the enemy could stop you, he would have done it already. The fact that you are still standing, still believing, still silent when provoked, means you are walking in victory even before it's visible. Chosen one, not every victory roars. Some come quietly, so quietly that only your spirit recognizes them. You may look around and see no fireworks, no applause, no visible sign of triumph. Yet deep inside, you sense a shift, a peace that wasn't there before, a calm where chaos once lived. That is what silent victory feels like. It does not announce itself. It settles into your soul like dawn slipping over the horizon. There is something profoundly sacred about victories that happen in secret. These are the wins heaven values most, the ones achieved not through strength, but surrender. When you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, you won. When you kept faith while every prayer seemed unanswered, you won. When you refused to speak out of anger though your heart burned for justice, you won. The world may not have seen it, but heaven recorded it. The quiet battles inside your spirit have shaped your crown more than any visible achievement ever could. As was spoken in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. When you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Chosen one, silent victory requires trust in timing. You must learn to celebrate even before evidence appears. Faith is not waiting until you see the walls fall. It's shouting quietly within your soul while the walls still stand, knowing that they are already trembling. You have walked long enough to know that God rarely moves according to human calendars. Yet when He moves, everything aligns at once. The silence you've endured was not inactivity, it was incubation. Think of how a seed splits underground. It doesn't make a sound when it bursts open. Yet life begins at that exact moment. That is your story right now. Heaven's work in you is invisible, but irreversible. The breaking you endured in silence was not destruction, it was transformation. God broke you open so that new life could emerge. What once felt like burial was actually the beginning of your bloom. There's a unique humility that comes with silent victories. You stop needing to prove your progress. You no longer feel the urge to announce every blessing or defend every delay. You simply know that God is working, and that is enough. This quiet assurance radiates from you now. People will sense it before they see it. They will notice peace where there should be panic, confidence where there should be fear. That serenity is your sign that heaven has already spoken over your situation. You are walking in answered prayers you haven't yet recognized. Some victories come disguised as stillness. The conflict that suddenly ended, the door that closed gently instead of slamming, the storm that passed without breaking you, all of these were wins. Heaven fought, and you stood still. That is what victory looks like in the language of faith. Chosen one, you may not realize it, but your stillness has changed things. The people who once misunderstood you are watching quietly, sensing something different about you now. The same silence that once seemed like a disadvantage has become your shield. You no longer react, you radiate. You no longer chase outcomes, you attract alignment. This is what happens when you choose peace over panic. God's reward is never shallow. The victories He grants are not temporary blessings. They are eternal shifts. You have been changed from the inside out, and that change cannot be undone. The peace that surrounds you now is not fragile. It is fortified. The light that fills you cannot be extinguished, because it was born in darkness and tested in silence. So stand tall, chosen one. You don't need to explain this chapter to anyone. Let the fruit of your endurance speak. The same people who wondered if you were finished will soon see that you were being fortified. Your rise will not come with noise, but with undeniable grace. The doors will open naturally. The opportunities will flow easily, and the favor will feel effortless because this time, you won't be striving. You'll simply be being. And when you feel that peace, when you recognize that quiet assurance deep within your soul, seal it as your testimony. Type the prophetic number 555 in the comments. Let it be your silent declaration that you have stepped into victory, that what was once hidden has been completed in heaven's sight. The number will mean more than digits. It will be your amen in the unseen, your acknowledgement that the war is over and the peace has come. Chosen one. The quiet inside you is not emptiness, it's evidence. You have won, not by noise, but by knowing. Heaven fought, and you remained still. That is the victory of the chosen unseen, unannounced, and unstoppable. Chosen one. Silence has shaped you into something rare. You have endured seasons that would have broken the impatient. Yet here you stand stronger, deeper, quieter. The world doesn't yet see the transformation, but heaven does. What was once a trembling soul has become a vessel of unshakable faith. What once felt like loss has matured into wisdom. You have discovered the secret most never learn. Crowns are forged in the quiet. Every crown carries weight. It is not just a symbol of glory, it is a mark of endurance. Crowns are not handed out in the noise of celebration, they are molded in the unseen fires of obedience. When you obeyed in silence, when you trusted in stillness, heaven began shaping your crown. It was not made of gold alone, but of patience, resilience, and surrendered will. Every tear became a jewel, every heartbreak a polished edge, every moment of restraint a thread of divine gold. The apostle wrote in his first letter to the Peter chapter 5, verse 6, "Humble yourselves therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." This verse holds the rhythm of your journey: humility before honor, silence before sound, hiddenness before unveiling. And you bowed low when pride would have demanded explanation. You chose stillness when anger wanted words. You allowed yourself to be misunderstood rather than misaligned. And now, that quiet obedience has become your crown. Chosen one. The glory of this crown is not visible to the crowd, it is recognized by heaven. The angels see it glowing upon your life because it is not made of metal but of light. It shines through your patience, your peace, your calm authority. It is the radiance of one who has walked through fire without losing faith. Every time you chose humility over reaction, the crown grew brighter. Every time you trusted instead of panicking, it was reforged in divine brilliance. You must understand, crowns are not merely given, they are revealed. What is being revealed now is not something new, but something eternal that has always been inside you. The silence only carved away the unnecessary, so that what was holy could emerge. You are not stepping into a new identity. You are uncovering the one heaven wrote into your soul long before you breathed your first breath. The world may still call it waiting, but heaven calls it reigning. You are no longer reacting to the noise, you are resting in authority. That is what humility does. It anchors you so deeply in God's will that storms no longer shake you. Pride demands to be seen, but humility trusts to be chosen. You have learned that the power of the crown is not in display, but in discretion. You carry it quietly, walking through the world with the grace of one who knows their worth but no longer needs to prove it. Think of a tree, planted long ago in silence. While storms raged and seasons changed, it grew downward first. Its roots spread deep, invisible to the eyes above. Then, when the foundation was strong enough, it began to rise steady, unbreakable, crowned with fruit. You are that tree. Your roots of humility have anchored you through the storms. And now the fruit of your endurance is about to appear. There is a serenity that only the chosen carry. It cannot be faked, for it is born of surrender. You now walk with that serenity. People may not understand it. They may think you have lost passion or drive, but what they do not see is that your fire has moved inward. It no longer burns wildly. It burns steadily, controlled by wisdom. You are not chasing signs anymore. You are becoming one, chosen one. You have crossed a line few dare to reach. You have stepped from striving into sovereignty, not the kind that demands power, but the kind that reflects heaven's peace. You have learned that to reign is to serve, to lead is to listen, to speak is to echo heaven. The silence that once felt like imprisonment has become your sanctuary. In the quiet, You learned the sound of God's breath. In humility, you found His heartbeat. Do not rush to remove this crown by seeking validation. It is invisible because it is sacred. It will become visible only to those meant to recognize it. Your authority now flows from rest, not effort. The world will begin to sense it not through what you say, but through who you have become. Your peace will convict, your composure will inspire, and your humility will draw others toward light. Chosen one, wear your crown gently. It is not a trophy, but a trust. You were not crowned to be exalted above others, but to lift others closer to heaven. You carry the kind of authority that heals without speaking, comforts without words, and shifts atmospheres simply by standing in truth. This is what the silence was for. This is why the waiting mattered. Chosen one, the silence that once felt like an ending has become the stage for something extraordinary, a divine reversal. Heaven has begun to turn what was meant to harm you into honor. The same paths that once led you into pain are now being transformed into roads of purpose. What was once taken from you is returning in a new form, refined by grace. You may not have seen it begin, but the shift has already started. Heaven is rewriting your story, line by line, in favor of your destiny. The reversal began quietly, like dawn breaking over the horizon. At first, the light seems hesitant, fragile, but then it expands until every shadow flees. That is how God redeems the seasons of loss. You will look back and realize that every disappointment carried a seed of divine direction. Every no was a redirection. Every betrayal was an unplanned rescue. The tears that watered your wilderness are now the rain that nourishes your harvest. You are stepping into the fulfillment of promises that once felt buried under silence. We are reminded through the words written in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Those words, spoken by Joseph, are not just history, they are prophecy for you. Like Joseph, you endured pits and prisons not because God forgot you, but because He was positioning you. What people meant for your humiliation has become heaven's foundation for your elevation. Every injustice, every false judgment, every closed door has turned into divine preparation. What was meant to bury you has become the soil from which your blessing grows. Chosen one. Divine reversal is not only restoration, it is revelation. It shows you that nothing was wasted. Even the years you thought were stolen have been folded into the divine design. You will see that the very people who tried to silence you played a role in shaping your voice. The pain that once paralyzed you has become the testimony that empowers others. You will soon stand in places you once only dreamed of, and you will do so not out of pride, but out of gratitude. Heaven does not forget endurance. God has a perfect memory of your obedience in silence, your tears in hidden places, your worship when no one was watching. Now those unseen sacrifices are beginning to bear visible fruit. Divine justice moves differently. It does not seek revenge. It manifests redemption. Instead of returning hurt for hurt, God returns healing. Instead of humiliation, He releases honor. The scale of heaven always balances, but in favor of mercy. What you once called delay was actually set up. God never allowed the enemy to have the final word because your story was never His to write. The ink of your destiny has always been in divine hands. The same hand that closed certain doors is now opening new ones with purpose you could not imagine. Some of those doors will lead back to places that once wounded you, but this time, you'll walk through them carrying peace instead of pain. You won't return as a victim, but as a vessel of grace. Divine reversal often feels gentle at first, like healing after surgery. The pain does not vanish immediately. Instead, it dissolves gradually as new strength takes its place. You begin to see meaning in moments that once made no sense. The sting of betrayal turns into compassion for those still lost in bitterness. The loneliness you endured becomes wisdom that teaches others how to wait. You no longer need to understand everything because you trust the one who does. That is the highest form of redemption, peace without explanation. Chosen one, your heart has shifted. You no longer pray from desperation but from alignment. You no longer beg for rescue, you invite revelation. This is what the silence accomplished. It trained your spirit to see from heaven's perspective. You no longer measure time by delay, but by divine orchestration. You know now that God's later is not punishment, it's perfection. And when his reversal comes, it leaves no trace of the former pain, only glory that reflects his goodness. Understand, this divine reversal is not about restoring what was lost exactly as it was. It's about replacing it with something better, purer, eternal. You may not get back the same relationships, the same opportunities, or the same seasons, but what returns will fit your transformed self. God never returns to you what you've outgrown. He gives you what matches who you've become. Chosen one. The curtain that once hid you is beginning to lift. You can feel it in the air, the quiet unfolding of destiny, the subtle glow of heaven's spotlight. What was private is about to become public, but not for the sake of pride, for the sake of purpose. You have walked through shadows long enough. Now the author of your story is ready to reveal what he's been writing all along. This is the season of public unveiling. Do not imagine this unveiling as a parade or a grand announcement. It comes like sunrise, gentle, gradual, unstoppable. First light touches the horizon, and then, almost imperceptibly, the whole landscape changes. In the same way, God is illuminating what he has been building in you. The stillness that once hid you has preserved you. Now, when the world sees you, they will not see your pain, they will see your peace. It is written in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 8, verse 17. Nothing hidden remains, all will be revealed. God brings truth forth, light uncovers all, nothing stays concealed. You have walked quietly, faithfully, through trials that no one applauded. You endured misunderstanding without explanation, delay without bitterness, silence without rebellion. That endurance has produced a fragrance that heaven cannot keep hidden. Just as oil must be crushed to release its aroma, your trials have released something precious from within you. And now that fragrance will begin to spread, drawing others not to you, but to the God who carried you. Chosen one, this unveiling is not the end of your silence, it is the fulfillment of it. Everything you learned in secret will now be used in service. Your peace will calm others. Your wisdom will guide those still wandering in the storm. The humility you learned through pain will become your greatest strength and influence. This is not fame, it's fruitfulness. Heaven is not interested in building celebrities, it is raising shepherds who carry glory quietly. When people begin to notice you, stay rooted in the soil of gratitude. Remember that the branches that reach the highest must remain most deeply anchored. Do not chase the light, simply reflect it. Let your visibility become a window through which others see God's mercy. You are not rising to replace others. You are rising to remind them that grace still finds those who wait. Now, if this message finds its way into your spirit, let it rest there. And when it does, do one simple thing: help this light reach someone else. Like, share, and subscribe, not as a ritual, but as a ripple. Think of it as tossing a pebble into a still pond. The ripples reach further than the eye can see. Somewhere, someone sits in silence, thinking God has forgotten them. Your small act of sharing might be the whisper that reminds them that heaven is still moving. And if you feel led to sow into this flow, to donate, to support the message, To keep this stream of light flowing, know that you are not funding words, you are planting trees. Each seed helps shade another soul in the heat of their trial. Every act of generosity becomes a shelter someone else can rest under. What you give returns multiplied, not always in money, but in peace, favor, and divine alignment. Your story, chosen one, is proof that hidden seasons are holy. They are not punishment, they are the wombs of purpose. And now, you stand like a butterfly emerging from the cocoon, stretching wings that have been strengthened in darkness. The world will soon see the color heaven painted while no one was watching. When they do not shrink in false humility, shine in sacred confidence. Let your life become a living sermon that says, "This is what God can do with silence." When you step into visibility, speak with grace. When you influence, do so with integrity. When you are honored, remember humility. And when you are blessed, be a blessing. For that is the true purpose of unveiling, to make the invisible mercy of God visible through your life. Finally, chosen one, take a moment and let your heart respond. Write in the comments these words: "I choose my crown," not as an act of pride, but as a declaration of readiness. You are choosing responsibility over recognition, purpose over popularity, humility over hype. Those words seal your heart to heaven's assignment. They tell God that when He reveals you, you will reflect Him. So rise gently. The light is waiting. You've carried silence long enough. Now carry glory with the same grace. The world is about to see what heaven already knows. You are God's masterpiece revealed in motion. Chosen one. There is a sacred weight resting on your spirit now, a quiet strength that cannot be explained, only felt. It is the weight of divine authority. You did not ask for it. You were entrusted with it. Every tear, every test, every moment of silence has been shaping this mantle upon you. You carry something now that words cannot capture, an awareness that you have seen heaven move and have remained still enough to understand its rhythm. Authority in the kingdom is not earned by striving, but by surrender. It is not granted to the loud, but to the loyal, not to the gifted, but to the obedient. You have walked through silence without losing your song. You have faced rejection without losing compassion. You have endured storms without losing direction. And because of that, heaven can now trust you with a voice that carries weight, not the weight of ego, but the weight of eternity. The apostle wrote in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, verse 18, "All authority is mine in heaven and earth, given to me fully by the Father, King over all." These words, spoken by Christ Himself, are not just a proclamation, they are a transfer. The authority He carried, He now shares with those who walk in His will. To bear that authority is not to dominate, but to demonstrate heaven's character. It means that when you speak in alignment with Him, creation listens. The winds obeyed Jesus not because they feared His tone, but because His words echoed the will of the Father. When your heart beats in the same rhythm as His, your speech carries that same resonance. Chosen one, authority without humility is corruption, but humility without authority is silence without impact. God has merged both within you. The silence refined your humility. The unveiling activated your authority. You are stepping into a season where your presence will carry the fragrance of heaven. People will sense peace when you enter because your spirit has become a vessel of divine calm. Even without words, your life will begin to speak volumes. You are no longer merely surviving the process, you are governing it. What once overwhelmed you now bows beneath your peace. You have moved from reacting to reigning, from being shaken to being the one who steadies others. Your authority is quiet, not showy. It doesn't demand attention. It commands respect through serenity. You have been anointed with the kind of power that moves mountains not by shouting, but by believing. Understand this authority is not the privilege to control, it is the permission to serve with power. The greatest leaders in heaven's kingdom are those who bend first. Jesus washed the feet of those he could have commanded. That is the pattern of true authority: to love fiercely, to forgive freely, to serve humbly, and to lead through example. You now carry that same heart. You do not use your voice to control. You use it to heal. You do not use your influence to exalt yourself. You use it to lift others higher. That is why heaven trusts you with this weight. Chosen one, authority also brings responsibility. The more light you carry, the more careful you must be with your words, your motives, and your energy. Your presence can build or break atmospheres. When you walk into a place heavy with confusion, peace will follow you. When you encounter someone burdened by fear, your calm will disarm them. You are no longer a bystander in the spiritual realm, you are a participant in heaven's work. Every step you take now echoes in eternity. This authority does not mean life will become effortless. It means you now face challenges from a higher vantage point. The same storms that once terrified you will now serve as proof of your strength. You will look at adversity differently, not as an enemy, but as an opportunity to exercise your dominion. You will pray not out of panic, but from power. You will no longer plead for help. You will release heaven's help through your words. You are walking now as one who knows that silence was not wasted, it was weaponized. You understand that rest is not retreat, it is strategy. And when God speaks through you, even your whisper will carry the weight of thunder. That is divine authority. It is knowing that you don't need to fight to win, because victory flows naturally from alignment. Chosen one, carry this mantle carefully but confidently. You are not just a believer anymore. You are an ambassador of heaven's order. Where others see chaos, you will see opportunities. Where others panic, you will perceive purpose. This is what it means to walk in divine authority, to live as proof that stillness is not weakness and obedience is not silence, but mastery. Chosen one. After the fire, after the storm, after the silence, there comes a stillness unlike any other. It is not the silence of waiting this time. It is the silence of fulfillment. You have crossed the threshold from testing to transformation. What once felt like stillness born of uncertainty has now become stillness born of peace. Heaven has finished something within you. You are no longer the same soul who began this journey of surrender. You have been reshaped by patience, refined by faith, and remade by grace. This final silence feels different. It is deeper, quieter, heavier with glory. It is not the absence of sound, but the presence of divine completion. It hums with the echo of heaven's satisfaction, like the silence after a symphony when every instrument rests. Every note fulfilled, every chord resolved. You are standing in that moment now, where heaven pauses, not to test you, but to honor what you have become. It is written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 20. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. This silence is sacred. It is the silence that follows revelation, the moment when words are no longer necessary because understanding has taken their place. It is not a void, but a vessel, holding the weight of divine presence. When you reach this stillness, you realize that faith was never about getting answers. It was about becoming the answer. You are now the living proof that silence was never empty. It was holy. Look at the path behind you, the tears, the confusion, the waiting. They were not wasted. Every moment was the chisel in the sculptor's hand, shaping the unseen masterpiece. You thought God was still, but He was carving purpose into the marble of your life. You thought you were being buried, but you were being planted. And now, the harvest stands before you quiet, radiant, and full of meaning. The silence has accomplished its work. Chosen one, this is the stillness before glory. Heaven often pauses before release, not out of hesitation but reverence. The angels stand silent when God finishes something perfect, and you are now the work completed. The silence surrounding you is heaven's applause translated into peace. You are the temple where that verse lives. The Lord is present, and the earth within you is silent before Him. Do not rush this moment. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. This is the season where your peace becomes prophecy. The calm that once felt unnatural now flows through you effortlessly. You speak less but mean more. You move slower but impact deeper. You no longer seek signs because you have become one. Every breath you take now carries the rhythm of divine rest. You are living in alignment, not anxiety. This final stillness also marks the beginning of a new kind of power. Not the noisy power that shouts to be seen, but the quiet authority that transforms by presence. You will find yourself changing rooms just by being in them. You will notice that your peace disrupts chaos, that your words settle storms before they begin. This is not pride, it is placement. You are standing in the center of God's will, and everything that surrounds you now bends to that divine order. Chosen one, this silence before glory is the crown of your journey. It is the moment where your humanity and heaven's purpose meet. You have been emptied of fear, stripped of striving, and filled with trust. There is no resistance left in you, only readiness. This is the place where miracles happen naturally, where prayers turn into quiet gratitude, where the presence of God feels like breathing. You have become the calm in the storm you once begged God to stop. That is the transformation. He did not remove the storm. He made you untouchable within it. You have reached the kind of peace that cannot be explained, only embodied. You no longer fear waiting, because you have learned that waiting is not stillness, it is movement in disguise. It is God walking beside you in unseen form, teaching you how to match His pace. And now, in this sacred stillness, heaven whispers what you have longed to hear: it is finished. Not because there are no more challenges ahead, but because the version of you that doubted, feared, and fought for control has finally surrendered. The battle within you is over. You are no longer fighting for peace, you are living from it. So rest here. Let the silence wrap around you like light. Let the air itself remind you that you have arrived not at an end, but at a holy beginning. The silence before glory is not a pause between seasons, it is the eternal breath of God resting upon a life that finally listens. Chosen one, you have reached the end of this divine journey, but not the end of your becoming. What began in silence has blossomed into revelation. You have walked through stillness, surrender, and strength, and now you stand in peace. Heaven has not only spoken to you, heaven has spoken through you. Every word, every pause, every breath along this path was written for your awakening. Now, take this light and let it ripple beyond you. If this message has stirred your spirit, like it as a quiet act of agreement. Share it so another weary soul can find stillness in their storm. Comment below with your reflection, even a single line of gratitude. So this sacred space becomes a circle of voices rising together in faith. And if you haven't yet, subscribe not to follow noise but to stay connected to the flow of revelation heaven continues to release here. Carry this truth forward when God moves. You stay silent not because you are powerless, but because you are already heard. You are the living echo of divine peace, chosen to bring calm where chaos once ruled.